Homegrown really started when a friend of mine, Jonah Raskin, who lives in Northern California and knew a lot about the marijuana scene, was down in Los Angeles. And he said, wouldn't it be great to make a movie about marijuana? It's sort of the treasure of Sierra Madre. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And said, I'd like to play with that, Jonah, if I can, and I did, and wrote a script. And for a while, nothing really happened with it. It was about marijuana, and no one wants to make a movie about drugs, really. None of the studios or anything, although everyone likes to sort of reference it. Nonetheless, I ended up getting somebody finally to say they would give me $500,000 to make the movie because they felt, you could do that. In those days, that was not much money. A few years ago, things have changed a lot, certainly since then. But so I had $500,000. I need to get a cast together, of course. I started putting together a cast, and it was very, very difficult because there was still not a lot of money. Most agents and all those kinds of people didn't really want their actors in it, and so we would cast, and no one would. We call the casting agent, call the agents, and no one would show up. But we finally got Billy Bob, and then all of a sudden a lot of other actors came on, and then a couple of my friends, Jamie Lee Curtis and Ted Danson, joined it, and we got a little bit more money. Probably, in fact, in some ways more than we needed, I think. And I think the movie could have even been, and I'm proud of the movie in many ways, but it could have been even more guerrilla style filmmaking. The other thing is we created marijuana plants. We did in fact shoot on a little bit of marijuana plantations, and we also shot some marijuana that the police had confiscated. So we sort of were on both sides. Which is what's the wonderful thing about making movies, is we were both able to access the police and their whole approach to drugs, and we had the confiscated plants, so we could shoot a lot of close-ups and things like that. And we were out on the plantation. I went to a couple of plantations, and it was, the guys there were scared, a lot of them. But most of the footage, particularly with the actors and all of that, we couldn't really shoot much with real marijuana, although we did a little tiny bit. But most of it was with fake plants, and one of the big things we had to do was create the sense of the plantation, which we did with fake plants. And also in the longer commentary, I'll kind of get into how about halfway through the shoot, we were shooting in Northern California in the redwoods. The plants were stolen. Most of them, and everyone freaked out. And the people who freaked out the most, we were shooting on state park land, so here we had police more or less, and they were furious that on their watch the marijuana plants had been stolen. And they ended up finding out that it was a prank. It wasn't all that difficult because a bunch of students had taken the plants and had snuck them into the president of their college, into his office. So the president of the office walked in, and there were all these marijuana plants there. And actually, they'd taken very good care of them. There was only a tiny bit of damage, and we got them back. And the state park police felt that they had been heroes in some way or other. The college kids were never caught. Hope they saw the film over and over. And we went on to make the movie. That's kind of the process. I would just say that, the other thing that was hard on it for me was just that when the film was released, Columbia was very nervous about it, owned by Sony, the Japanese. They were very concerned about the film, so they didn't really want to release it theatrically in any kind of big way, unless it did really, really well. And so we opened it in Seattle, which is where I'm making my next movie, Grassroots. But we went to Seattle, and they opened that city, but they didn't really give us enough money, so it didn't really open that well. So we didn't have much of a theatrical release. I was really depressed. I mean, really, really depressed. And in fact, it really kept me, after a while, not making another movie, which I think was a mistake. Forget about box office, forget about seeing movies. I was sort of a little bit, I was into all that stuff then. But in the end, it's been a big hit, sort of a DVD, kind of a cult little movie that's been embraced by a lot of people, and I was wrong. I should have kept making some more movies. That was the last one I made for a long time. But I'm going to make some more now. And it's interesting, homegrown, grassroots. Uh, uh, Back to kind of basics in some way. So that's a little bit on Homegrown.